Welcome to the Starting Over Podcast. I am your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos, and this is the show where we look at the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of heroclix. It is like 1 in the morning right now, and the only reason I'm recording is, it was on my mind. It was on my mind. I finished playing some League of Legends with my friend Proxy and my friend Omega Demand, so still coasting on them wins. Anyway, I will say this: it is interesting. My relationship with YouTube is because my videos have been glitchy, and you all have been telling me that, and I don't know what's going on. Some shows are going up fine, other shows are not loading properly, or they cut out, and it's like, I just don't know what's going on. I know for one instance, for a show, pretty much it was on my end. I know that now because when I was doing post-production on it, I had like hard drive. My hard drive was full, and so it glitched out. So anyway, well, let me rephrase it. I was cleaning out my hard drive so it wouldn't get full, and it glitched out. So that's what happened. Anyway, also, like, some of you might be wondering, it's like, okay, Dark Logos, man, like when do you record? Try to give y'all an understanding how things have been lately. Pretty much what's going on is I record a show, and then I do some post-production, and it's usually about a week from when I record it. Not necessarily because it has to be, just sometimes it's how it's been lately. So yeah, that's the best thing I can tell you. And so, like, you might hear me say something, and you'll be like, hey man, that's a little outdated, or that's not quite right, or hold up, what's going on? Or you said you were doing this one thing, and that was like 2 weeks ago. Well, that's pretty much why. Anyway, what we're going to talk about today is something I realize that it's hard for me to do in this format to talk about, but I'm going to do it anyway because we need to talk about it, and that is map selection. And there's a couple of people that have talked to me. It's like, hey, Dark Logos, I have some problems with maps and picking the right terrain and the right map. My placement's getting better, my team building's getting better, everything about what's going on in my playstyle is getting better, but my map selection is not really kicking in. So the first thing I want everyone to realize is this. When we go through it, we're going to look at map and how it affects your team building, how it affects your playing, and why your opponent picked the map that they did. Now most of the time I usually say, hey, people build this team, and you're going on, and then you got to go find a map to back it up, and I want you to see a little bit more of my logic of why I say what I say. Okay, so like I said, first off, we're going to look at, like, okay, we build our team, let's find a map, then actually playing it, and then why our opponent picks the map that they picked. Okay. So pretty much when we are building our team, the first thing that we need to assess is what map works best for us. And when we really think about it, if there is a very specific type of map setup you need, and you're not themed, then you might want to start again and thinking about how you're going to tackle that problem of getting map. And if you realize, like, you can't fight on any other map but a map that has 3 levels of elevation or something like that, because one of your character gets like crazy good stats, then yeah, you're going to have problems if you have a non-theme team, just straight up. So that's something to consider. But the biggest thing that you're looking for in a map is, does this help me deploy in a manner that fits my team? If I have slow deployment, is there a lot of walls to really protect me from a blitzkrieg? Is there a map that's really open so that my team dial can get from one end of the map to the other really quickly and just unload? Is there water terrain needed, or elevated terrain needed, or even, or more so, just saying, is my starting area a square so that I am closer to my opponent, so that I can, like run them down. All of these things are very important in how you're looking at your map for that's going to fit your team. And here's the maps that I feel that every player should be taking to the venue. Never rely on the venue for maps. Never, ever, ever, ever do that. Okay? You're only setting yourself up for failure, because if Joe Blow gets the one map that you really need, and there's only one copy of that map, and you're out of luck. Okay? So you're going to need the map. Your map selection needs to hit the following categories in that you're bringing to the tournament. The first is a map that fully favors your team. Okay, it's a map that your team is built to fight on, and that your opponent cannot do jack about your team on that map. So if you have a barrier team, a map with a bunch of walls, and your opponent has to dig through all the walls to get to you, that's a good map. If you're a run and gun team, a place for you to just TK out there and then shoot. If you're a hypersonic speed stick and move team, then you have enough walls to stick and move, to hide behind, stuff like that. Okay, so that's your primary map. So everything that you plan out is based around that map. The second map is built to deal with is selected to deal with a team that also does well on your home court advantage map, your primary map, but cannot do well on map 2. You are not as efficient, but you're more efficient than your opponent. So if you say to yourself, man, phasing or whatever is going to be really strong, and I really can't handle that, but if they're on the map that I really want to fight on, they're just going to own me. You have that second map just to say, hey, guess what? I have another terrain, and this is what helps me. Mainly this kicks in is if you don't notice that you do not have anti-stealth. Let me phrase that. If you notice that you do not have anti-stealth, and you face that one stealth team, well, shoot, all the amount of barrier or whatever won't help you, if you're primarily a range team. So yeah, you're like, oh, I have this map and I can fight on it. It's mainly open terrain. My opponent is only going to really get hindering terrain through objects. Okay, the last map is one of those, like, just in case Weird X shows up. And I say Weird X because this is how you look at it as a gambit. Now, I know some people are like, well, I just bring all my maps. You bring all your maps. In all honesty, what'll end up happening is that you'll spend 5 to 10, 15 minutes trying to figure out your map selection. Remember, we talked in previous podcasts that your brain can't really handle a bunch of options. The more cereals that you're presented with, the more likely your brain is going to be melt down. If you have no history on what any of these cereals taste like or is going to do to your body, and I put 50 cereals in front of you, you're not going to have an easy time making a logical decision. You're going to make a decision on impulse and previous history. Okay, that's the same thing with a lot of people in maps. Oh, I want to use this map. What side is it on? Oh, can I use these special rules? I don't know. That might help my opponent. Maybe these other special rules will help. All this superfluous stuff will go through your head, and you're just going to be stuck. So take a step back and just say, all right, I have my primary map. I have my map. So if my opponent is good on my primary map, I know they can't be good on this other map. And then finally, just in case the weirdness shows up, this is my backup map that I can fight on. Okay, and so when you have all three of those maps together, please note, am I saying, hey, Dark Logos is guaranteed that I'm always going to get map choice? I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that by being prepared and knowing what map that you are can fight on, and that's going to suit you, then you've already came into the battle prepared, more prepared than most of your opponents that you're going to face. How do I know this? Because I talk to a lot of people about, why did you pick that map? Didn't you notice that my team does blah, 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 blah? And then the response normally is, no, I didn't notice that your team could do blah, 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 blah. I just picked this map because. And there's really nothing after the because. It's just, I picked this map. I thought I could fight well on here. I have this team. I thought this would fit my team well. And sometimes people will get so blinded by what their team does well that they don't look at their opponent and be like, ooh, wow, you do something hella broke on this map. Okay? For example, do you need to activate someone really quickly? Hawk World. Oh, I TK'd them off into the void, in the abyss. Oh, he fell, and he's back in my starting area. In Blizzard Thor, I take Donald Blake and turn him into Blizzard Thor, and now my opponent cannot yank me over across the map with Chase Thanos. Oh man, I was going to yank you across the map and then throw you inside of the Hawk World empty area to soften you up, but you used that to activate Blizzard Thor. I didn't see that coming. Yep, pretty much. So, yeah, you gotta be mindful of why you are picking. Okay, why am I picking this? Why is my opponent picking that? Okay. The next stage is, okay, and I sort of started talking about it, is once we sit down and we start playing, this is how I want you to assess your map. And I've talked about part of this in the past before, but I'm going to go a little bit more in depth. Where am I starting? Where is our mid game going to happen? And where is our end game going to happen? Now you have to predict all of that. If you know mid and end game is going to happen on your opponent's side of the field, then place your objects accordingly. If you know that the end game is going to happen, mid and end game is going to happen on your side of the field, then place your objects accordingly. If you are unsure, start looking at the map of saying, I want to fight here, in this place, in that place. I'm not going to fight him there. And here's why I say that. By looking at the map and saying, I'm going to fight him here, and I'm not going to fight him there, and the battle's going to go this way, what have you done? You have planned. Okay? And some people, they're going to be like, Dark Logos, you're pushing the rules a bit. There is no rule saying that you cannot write things down. So what you can do is you can make up a little symbol system with triangles, circles, and squares, or whatever else, and say, like, all right, I'm going to, elevated is a triangle, water is a square, normal terrain is a circle. So I'm going to, circle, square, triangle, or triangle, circle, square, whatever. If you write, some little weird cryptic message to yourself, your opponent doesn't know what you're planning. Okay, and they sure the heck don't know what's coming. And if anybody, actually looks at what's going on, they're just going to think you're doodling. Okay, but if you need to write down your plan, write it in cryptograph. That's so wrong. It's not writing in cryptograph. It should be like writing in calligraphy and of some sort. But anyway, put it in code. Plain and simple. It makes it a lot easier for you, hides it from your opponent. But anyways, as we're pathing out our battle on the map, we're thinking to ourselves, okay, by this turn, I should be on this area of the map. By this turn, I should be on this other area of the map. My last few turns, I'm going to go here. And the main reason that we're doing this is, if let's say the game ends on your first level or your second level of location of battles, fine, you did not fail. Don't think that I'm saying that you messed up. You didn't. You ended the game early. But if you say, man, if I hit those characters a couple of times, they can't chase me for nothing. So let me get aggressive early, force the battle to be close to their starting area, and do a stutter step retreat to my end of the map and have some support, along the way. My opponent is going to burn themselves out while I either heal up or buff up or get ahead. Because as I create space distance between them, us and them, they can't keep up, so they have to push, or they have to do haymaker plays to get back into the game. They have to put in more risk to get equal reward for your less risk. Okay, so let me try to make that clear. For you all to achieve the same goal, the same reward, your opponent has to put in more risk than you do, and that's great. Okay, if you're one of those teams that says, well, forget it, my main goal is for us to slug it out in the middle, because once he's in the middle, I have plasticity, I have this and that and the other thing, and he can't get away. Fine. Okay, if your team is saying like, well, I got this Infinity Gauntlet, this fool better come to me, and if he doesn't, when I finally do come out, I'm coming out with mega awesome man. So it's up to how you play, but then it comes back to the map and your planning. If your planning is for you to do exactly those things, don't go off and do what I've seen so many people do when playing me, because it's clear they have a plan for the map. All right, and I'm aware they have a plan for the map, and what I like to do is just do something that they're not expecting. So I know it's their goal to rush me down. Screw it, I'm coming to you. And then they're like, oh, I wasn't expecting you to do that. Well, yeah, because I know you want to fight me here in these parts, but I know I could probably push you back and then collapse in on you. You need space. Without space, your advantage is not as strong. Prime example, Nightcrawler teams. Nightcrawler teams utilize space difference. Same thing with Thanos teams. Is that, I yanked one guy back, separated him from the rest of his backup, and then I beat him up. But if I'm on top of you, your space difference means nothing. Have you ever fought a Thanos where the opposing team, a Chase Thanos, where pretty much the opposing team is right there, like face to face with the Chase Thanos team? Oh gosh, they suck. Those Chase Thanos teams suck. Because they're not designed to deal with somebody just rushing them down. They weren't designed for anybody that can deal with spatial difference. That's why I love Invisible Jet. Invisible Jet just screws so many Chase Thanos teams over so bad. That and Bat Signal. Because if you put the Bat Signal in just the right place and get somebody up there, like with the Invisible Jet, and then use Purple Beam. Oh yeah, that's beautiful. Summon up, whoever you want, and then just watch Chase Thanos players sort of crap themselves in their brain because they don't know what to do. Because if they spent time to try to shoot your Bat Signal, guess what? They're not pulling you. So anyway, I really want you to sort of solidify in your head, where are you going in the map? And I want you to see, yeah, this is why it matters. Okay? And then also, like, just putting out, like, if you know what your opponent is doing and you want to do something to throw them off their game, do it as long as it doesn't hurt your positioning. Just make sure it doesn't hurt your positioning. Okay, last but not least, we're going to look at, okay, why did my opponent play that map? Now we have established that sometimes people pick random maps for random reasons, and it makes no sense whatsoever. And we could try to make rhyme and reason out of it, but it doesn't. Okay. Sometimes people, if you look at your opponent's team, they will pick a map in which they get minor benefits. Okay. And they pick it because they think they're getting major benefits. So you have to really analyze, okay, when I look at my opponent's team and I look at the map they selected, okay, they want to do this. Okay. I think I can handle that, but they don't know if they pick this other map that whatever I'm weak against is really magnified on that. You don't tell your opponents, like, hey, go pick this other map. You'll curb stomp me. You just let them pick, whatever they do. Okay, so moving on to the next element is, once you assess what your opponent's team does and how it interacts with the map, look for asymmetrical elements. All right, now there's a few maps that are completely symmetrical, like most of the maps that are from No Man's Land or the Fear itself for the last few months. They're completely symmetrical maps. So picking a side doesn't matter. It's all about knowing how your team will leverage space over your opponent's team, and how you use walls and hindering and water terrain, and your opponent can or cannot do it in those same ways. Okay, but when you find parts of the map or maps that are asymmetrical, that's when you really have to look at your team and say, I can benefit from this, he's hurt from that, or his team becomes really tough to beat if he picks that side. I need to make sure that I take that side so he doesn't get that advantage. And that's the big thing. The biggest example of this is the power plant map and the Thanos Throne of Death map, Infinity Gauntlet Throne of Death map. Those two maps have elevated terrain just chunked out at half map. So different teams have different advantages dealing with that map. Do you have Scarlet Spider? He loves that map because he gets certain bonuses. Do you have a cop car? Cop cars don't love that map because it funnels them up in very specific areas and makes their interaction so bad. Just so bad. Okay? Do you have, Big Barda? Big Barda doesn't care. She's just going to phasing teleport and light some fools up. But it does benefit Barda to have the elevated area so that when she does boom tube, there's nobody there that's able to draw a line of fire to her to cause her any problems. Such as, getting rid of her damage reduction or super strength or anything like that. So that's the big thing. And again, in heroclix, the biggest thing that we'll see in asymmetrical play is elevation, elevation, elevation. Starting on elevation 2 has bigger advantages, or let me rephrase that, starting on the highest elevation has bigger advantages than starting on the lowest elevation, unless your character has a specific ability that kicks off when they're on a lower elevation. Okay, like Unspoken. He's a prime example, because he gets stealth on lower elevation. All right, but 9 times out of 10, you really want the high ground. Okay, let's say you didn't get the high ground. All right, because you weren't paying attention. You need to figure out how you're going to approach a higher elevation. Okay, the biggest thing that I can say is, if you're not packing TK or your main cannon cannot be TK'd, you have to decide how you're going to take hits. Okay, so if you don't have any form of spatial manipulation whatsoever,
You can't carry, you can't TK, you can't do anything cool. You got to decide who's going to get hurt and how much. And I know that sounds bad, but you don't have any way to mitigate space. If your team is designed not to mitigate space distances well, and you're forced to mitigate space distances, then you have to decide, all right, what am I going to lose? And a lot of people, they decide, well, I'm just going to keep sticking with my plan. Well, shoot, you won't get any points. And if I can snipe you from wherever you're at, or I can gradually move out and lose my advantage so that, in the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game, I can get points and you have none, oh well, guess what? That's on you. So that's something major that a lot of people don't think about. And I know you can say, like, well, Dark Logos, you're playing the clock. Yes, you have to play everything. You have to play everything. And you can say, well, or what about stalling and all that? I'll leave that out off the table for right now. But just going back with the map is looking at the options that you are able to deal with the map, and because I'm here and I'm talking about time, let me just sort of elaborate how time and literally space collide to form victory or defeat. Let's first start off with time. If you have a very mobile team and you're facing an opponent that doesn't have a mobile team, they can't mitigate space. So your main thing of how to use your time is to make them chase after you. But if they have to spend so much time chasing after you, pick off a few characters and keep running. Why is that? But because by the time they figure out how they're going to finally catch you and how they're finally going to try to get some points, then make those attempts, guess what? They've eaten up like 10 to 15 minutes of the round. Boom. Okay. Time and space. Okay. Another example. If you have a team that's just built around you powering up an Infinity Gauntlet or whatever else, and your opponent doesn't come for you, or they're just sitting there and they can't figure anything out. Like, yeah, just say, my opponent's stalling. Judge, my opponent is stalling. It's real evident. I'm just sitting here. He just has to come down to me. Or don't. If he doesn't come down to me, he needs to pass. If he's coming down to me, he needs to come down to me. He needs to make a decision. Stop. He's stalling. That's it. Okay? Those are big things. The other thing I like to say is, you can do the chess clock thing, but more so have it for yourself, and I would say be respectful with it, but and don't get any that like make the ringing sound, but more so have it to set the flag to fall at, like, I say give your opponent 3 to 4 minutes. 5 is more than gracious. If they extend over 5, oh well, call for stalling. It's like, but Dark Logos, we have some really intense games. Call for stalling. It's like, it'll make me look like a douchebag. Now, I don't know the social norms that you're dealing with, okay? And I know some of this, what I'm saying, would make you very unpopular. But this is what national rounds look like. Dang it, I wish I had the YouTube video. I think it got called, not last year, but the year before, about somebody stalling. Anyway. But, I mean, that's what you got to think of. If you fail to equate your space and time, then and your opponent does, you're giving your opponent an edge. So, anyway, that's mostly it. And some of you are like, wow, this episode's really short. Yeah, it's a bit shorter than usual. And so because it's a little bit shorter than usual, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about Pacific Rim. And some of you are going to be like, whoa, buddy, he's talking about the heroclix. And yeah, I sort of am. But I went to go see Pacific Rim. I tweeted it not tweeted it. I put up a blog post. I actually enjoyed it for what it was. And really, in the end, it's just an action movie. It's an action movie. It's not there to really look at plot. The plot is got to kill some monsters. Oh wow, that's it. There's nothing else. If you try to look like, oh look, the depth of the drift and the mind melding, and there's aliens in another dimension and they're coming to get us. It's like, no. Really, all the movie really tries to explain is, why does Godzilla always come out of the sea, and why is King Kong on an island? That's really it. That's really it. Oh, there's a magical dimension that spawns monsters and they come out the sea and they come on dry land. Bam! That's it. Okay. But going on, just sort of looking at some of the characters or some of the figures, I'll say this: I don't see why Gypsy Danger has an experience dial. Really don't, because it got upgraded, and you could say like, oh, the experience dial is when he was with his brother, and it's like, yeah, okay. The only thing they did was add a freaking nuclear reactor and a sword to that sucker. That's all they did. Now, the whip slash mode chain sword, that's pretty cool. It's movie accurate. Gypsy Danger can use Blaze Claw's fangs and Giant Reach. I don't really like that. When Gypsy Danger uses Blaze Claw's fangs, instead of rolling a d6, roll 2d6, subtract 4, minimum 2. I think that's sort of cool. If you're able to combine that with like a flurry, that would be really awesome. Another thing, though, I'll say with this, that becomes a bit interesting, is the following. And I'm not trying to spoil the movie for you, but the Gypsy Danger has like a close combat like pulse gun thing. Why doesn't he have pulse wave? And I know you're gonna say like he has energy explosion, and I'm like, no, this dude should have this mech should have pulse wave. But okay, whatever. So is it movie accurate? Yes, I will say that. Okay, moving on to Striker Eureka. Let's see, Record Breaker. Striker Eureka can use Impervious, but reduces damage to 0 on 4 through 6. 6 Shooter Attack gives Striker Eureka ranged combat action. After the ranged combat attack resolves, it may make a second ranged combat attack as a free action. Now, this I sort of agree with. Now, the dial design, again, I don't see why there's an experience level. Unless they say, like, oh, when it appeared, this is what happened. But really, it's one of the fastest mechs, and you don't have any hypersonic speed. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, they even said, it's the fastest mech we have. Yeah, you're fighting in water. Maybe you could give like some little bonus of saying, like, when he moves, it gets +2 movement or some trait like that, Oh well. Or like in water terrain, Striker Eureka is able to do, it gets +2 movement. Something cool. It would fit the movie. And I'm trying not to spoil it for you guys, but there's some things you should be able to see, like on YouTube by now, that spoils more than what I'm saying. Anyway, going on. Cherno Alpha. I think this is the Russians. Now, I will say this. It's like a brother and sister pair, and when you see them on screen, it's a little incestuous, if you know what I mean. They're not kissing, but they got some moments that make you wonder, like, what's going on. And really, like think about this. If you're a brother and sister team, do you really want to be in each other's head? Like really? And I don't want. I'm not going to go any more depth than that. Yeah, I'm just not. Okay. Anyway, Two-Fisted Fury, Cherno Alpha can use Flurry. When it does, after actions resolve, it may use Quake as a free action. It's like, I don't really feel that, but okay. Alpha Armor, Cherno Alpha can use Impervious, but when the result
of its D6 roll is 3 through 4. It reduces damage dealt by 3 instead. Now that's pretty much accurate because they said it was a Generation 1 and that it was built to like take a ton of damage and stuff. So I like it. I really wish it had something like Russian or something on there as a keyword, but oh well. Crimson Typhoon. I wish I could play Crimson Typhoon with Great 10, but oh well. Anyway, trait 3-armed assault. Crimson Typhoon can use giant reach. Now this is bad because if you watch the movie, you're going to find out that that's not what the 3-armed assault is, and you'll find out about how that is piloted. I'm not going to ruin that for you, but it is sort of interesting on how it operates. Anyway, Trinity Punch. Give Crimson Typhoon a close combat action. It may make 3 close combat attacks as a free action. During this action, its combat values are locked. If it loses this power before an attack, it may not make another attack. I disagree with that. I don't think that's fully accurate. I do like the fact that it can do 3 attacks. I don't like the fact that the damage value is locked. What I feel like it should have had is, if you watch the movie, it should have had sidestep, like with part of that. Like after you do 2 of the punches, you can use sidestep and get the 3rd hit in. Anyway, Riptide Red. Crimson Typhoon can use Quake. When it does, damage becomes 3 and it's locked. That I sort of could get behind, not really. But yeah, I think that the plasticity clicks could have just been replaced with actually Trinity Punch should have just been better and allows you to use sidestep as part of it. But these are probably designed before they even thought about the new special power. So, all right, Coyote Tango. Which one was these? Kaiju Counter-Strike. When Coyote Tango targets an opposing character that has dealt damage since your last turn, modifies its attack value by +1. I don't remember Coyote Tango, which one that was. Anyway, so I don't remember which one that was, so I can't really say if it's accurate or not. Again, I feel at the length of this movie, like, this isn't a typical like mecha movie where it's like, oh, we fight the giant monsters, now we get upgrades because we lost the decisive battle. More upgrades because we are powering up. Upgrade, final blast, hammer to face, freaking, Kamehameha everywhere. It's not like that. It's literally, oh, we designed a mech. Oh, we put a nuclear generator in a backpack on another one. That's it. So, yeah. Actually, nope. Yeah, I was about to say, it's Coyote Tango kaiju, but it's not. Knife Head. This, to me, it's the beginning of the movie that I think you've seen Knife Head. And I find it a little like the dial is almost spot on. But anyway, it ignores blocking terrain, destroys blocking terrain, and the character moves through it. Monstrous toxic creature from the deep. Knife Head can use poison and giant reach ability. When it occupies water terrain, modifies attack and damage values by +1. The last part of that I agree with, and that's spot on in the movie. It didn't have poison. It didn't have poison at all during that entire fight. Bone knife, head blade, slash and slice. Give Knife Head a move action. Its speed and damage values are locked for this action. Move Knife Head along a direct path. After action resolved, make a close combat attack as a free action, and that targets all opposing characters that were moved through Each hit character is dealt damage equal to knife head's damage. I still don't fully agree with that, but oh well. Slattern. Gosh, I don't like the fact they gave them all the monster toxic creature from the deep trait, because they didn't really have poison. There's only one that I would say that I would technically give poison to. I think Slattern is one of the monsters at the end. I don't know if that's too much of a spoiler. I don't know if it's him or Leatherback. Crap. Man. Anyway, go and look at that Slattern. Biggest, baddest monster to ever walk the earth. Yep, he's at the end. Once per game, when Slattern would be KO'd, instead heal it to the starting line. That is completely accurate. Roll a d6 that can't be rerolled. Subtract 1. Deal the result as unavoidable damage. For the rest of the game, modify Slattern's attack and damage values by +1. This power can't be ignored. Yeah, that right there is him, like hardcore. So yeah. Triple Tail Whip gives Slattern a close combat action. All adjacent characters. Each hit character is dealt Slattern's printed damage and is knocked back. Sorta. Unstoppable. Slattern can use invulnerability after damage is reduced. Slattern ignores all but one damage dealt to it. Sorta. That's sorta like what was going on, but oh well. Raiju. Here's the one that flies. Oh crap. They didn't do it right. One of these suckers should have Pulse Wave. Oh crap, they don't. Oh well. Anyway. Raiju. Relentless Kai. Okay. Monstrous. Okay. Thunderous Beast. Raiju can use. Okay, here we go. This is it. Yeah, he should have Pulse Wave. He looks like King Kong, sorta. But that's dumb. I really wish they didn't do it like that. Raiju can use Pulse Wave as if it had a range value of 8. When it does, it deals damage equal to half its printed damage, and that's not true. Anyway, to each character hits, no matter how many characters are within range. I feel that it should have also had like another thing added on there where it gave Incapacitate. Like if you would roll a d6 and have a chance for it to roll Incapacitate, and that would have been 100% accurate. Now, the other thing is, he has the other special power, Maximum Toxicity. When Raiju uses poison, damage dealt is penetrating damage. I think that is not the greatest, because they really didn't poison anybody. But he pulse waved, and I thought that was baller. But I think this is the King Kong one. Scunner. Scunner can use charge, but doesn't have its speed value. Chomper Stomper Scunner can use Blaze Claws, Fangs, and Quake. When it rolls a d6 for Blaze Claws, Fangs, its printed damage value is the minimum result. That's not bad for a design. I'm trying to figure out what moment in the movie was this. I can't remember. And why doesn't he fly? Is it him or Leatherback that flies? Somebody should tell me. PM me or put something up on my blog for the entry, or just email me or whatever. Heck, tweet me if you want to. Which one? What was the name of the dude, the monster? He started off like as a lizard, and then he turned into a flying monster. Like, I know that would have been like too much spoilers for the dial, but I still think he should have flight on one of them, or at least transporter, or get flight later. Shrugs off missiles. Leatherback can use invulnerability. Leatherback ignores damage from ranged combat attacks.
Also, which one of them had that gland that spit crap out? Like, there should be range on some of these characters, on some of the kaiju. Also, hey, people tell me, how are the pogs distributed? Because some of these pogs look pretty baller. Yeah, they look pretty cool. So, like the fighter jet's pretty good for 25 points, but then you get, like, for 5 more points, you get Scotty's Warbot, which is way better. Then you have the battleship for 33 points. That's not the greatest, but not bad either. The military tank, I think it's okay. I don't think it's anything to write home about. But yeah, anyway, so pretty much, I guess the fighter jet's going to turn into the poor man Scotty Warbot. Oh well, so it goes. So it goes. Anyway, that's the show today. I hope you enjoyed it. We've reached our normal 45 minute to an hour normal listening period. Anyway, hit me up on Twitter. That's at StartOverPod. I need to change my handle to It Came From The Deep, or It Came From The Blackest of Space. Hit me up, follow me on Twitter. More so, follow Push the Region. Again, way more active than I am, and way more interesting. But you always know if I update the show on Twitter, if you follow me. Check me about once every 2 to 3 days. And I would say this too, I'm pretty reliable about getting shows out once a week. So you can always check back once a week. Also, hit subscribe if you want to. Clear if you want to. Not your most popular person on YouTube, but if you do scroll down to the bottom of your queue, you will probably find me right below Glass Cabinet Films and Oreo FL, and clicks the dial. Anyway, next up, you can email me at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. That's startingoverpodcast@gmail.com if you wish to opine. Keep it pithy, keep it long, keep it interesting. Last but not least, check out the blog, startingoverpodcast.blogspot.com. And I missed my blog post for today, so I will have to do that tomorrow. Oh well, you get more of my thoughts and ramblings on the blog than you do in the show. So yeah. Alright, that's it. Again, thanks for listening. For all of those that are out there that are going to Gen Con or Dragon Con, hit me up. Try to set some stuff up so we can get either live interviews or me getting your feedback and then reporting it on the show. I want to try to do something during Gen Con. I know I'm probably going to hear from Dan, Alex, and George, but talking to them during tournaments is like trying to talk to a professional, basketball player during the playoffs. It's like, you can try, you just might not get through. Anyway, again, thanks for listening. I appreciate everyone's patience, and remember, we all have to start over sometime.
I'm into comic books, figures on the wall. She's into looking good, Vicky C's got a law. And she loves my flaws, yeah, she's not ashamed. I'm a Peter Parker, she's my Mary Jane. She's my Mary Jane, she's my Mary Jane. She's my Mary Jane, she's my Mary Jane. She's my Mary Jane, she's my Mary Jane. I'm a Peter Parker, she's my Mary Jane. I'm a big nerd around her, but she's cool around me. Never knew how she found me. Electric, but she grounds me. And she loves my flaws, she accepts them all. When the darkness comes, I will get the call. I will swing down to save her.